Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this tutorial, we'll be making this under bust corsets with jeans. If it's something you're interested in, then let's get started. My first measurement will be my bust point, which is 10 inches. Then I'll mark my under bust, which is 13.5. After that, I'll mark my waist measurement, or basically how long I want my corset to be, which was 20. Once I'm done with all the measurements, I'll draw my horizontal lines. The next thing I did was to measure half of my shoulder measurements, which is 8 inches. Then I went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'll be marking the standard neck measurements, which is 3 inches. I'll go ahead and connect the neck measurement to the shoulder slope. I really do not need all this shoulder measurement and stuff. I'm just using it as a guide. To get my armhole opening, I'm going to divide my bust measurements by 6, then I'll add 1.5. I will draw a straight line to meet the shoulder slope. The next measurement I'll be taking is half of my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7, so the half is 3.5. I'll mark it on all my horizontal measurement, that is the bust point, under bust, and my waistline. On my bust point, I'll go down by 1 inch. After that, I'll go to my waistline, then I'll take in half an inch on both sides. After that, I'm going to connect my lines. Next thing I'll do is that I'll be using the distance from my bust point to my under bust. My bust point to my under bust is 3.5. So I'm going to mark it round. Just what I'm doing in the video. I'll use my free hand to join the point, which will form a half circle. Next thing I'm going to do is to get quarter of my bust measurement. On my waistline, I'll also measure quarter of my waist measurement. Then I'll add the 1 inch that intake to it. Once I'm done with all of that, I'm going to connect my lines. Next thing I'll do is that I'll extend that semicircle to my shoulder line. I'm going to take my curve rule and just connect it. Back to my waistline. Since I don't want my waistline to be straight like that, I just want it to have a little curve. So I'll go up by 2 inches. I'll mark it. Then on the dart intake, I'll go up by half of an inch. I'll mark it too. After that, I'll connect the dart intake going towards the center front to the waistline. I'm going to connect it with a curve. I'll also do the same for the one going towards the side seam. Before cutting it out, I measured the length of the side seam so that when I want to cut the back, I won't make a mistake. The length was 9.5. I'll be using this for my back. Once I'm satisfied with all my measurements, I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern. This is what the front pattern looks like once I'm done cutting it. So for my back pattern, remember I measured 9.5 for my side seam for the front pattern, so I'm going to mark it for my back pattern. I will be placing my front pattern on my back pattern to get my horizontal lines. Back to my front pattern, I'm going to measure the distance between the edge to that marked point. This is originally my bust point, so I'm going to mark it on my back too. On my front pattern, to get that slope on my front pattern, remember that we went up by 2 inches. So from the point on the back pattern, I'm going to go down by 2 inches. I'll go ahead and place my front pattern on the back pattern. I'll make sure the lines are aligned. The reason for this is to get my sides same and basically my darts intake. I'm just cross-checking if the dart intake on the back is also 1 inch. On my chest line, I'm going to measure my nipple to nipple measurement. That's 3.5. I'll mark it. Then I'll connect it to my dart intake. Once I've gotten my darts, I'm going to draw a straight line for my side seam using my front pattern. I'll go ahead and cut out my side seam. I'm going to measure half of an inch from that side, so when I'm joining it to the front, it won't look tacky. From there, I'm going to connect it to the bust point. It's not compulsory it's slant. You can make a straight line, any design you want for the back. After I'm done taking the back measurements, I'll cut out my pattern. I'm going to label it my center back and my side back so that I won't make mistake while cutting it. I'm going to take out 1 inch from the center back. It's actually advisable for you not to use the center back at all. This is what my front and back pattern looks like once I was done cutting it. I've already cut out my fabric and my lining. I cut out 2 pieces for the jeans fabric and I also cut out 2 pieces for the lining. When I was cutting it, the other thing I did was to add half an inch sewing allowance to all the sides. I've gone ahead to pin up all my fabric. The next I'm going to do is to go to my sewing machine and stitch them. I will do the same for my lining too. You can actually add an interface to your fabric before you go ahead to stitch it. So this is what it looks like once I was done. I've also gone ahead to press my fabric. Don't forget to press your fabric. Always press your fabric or else it won't look neat and professional. This is how the back looks like after I went ahead to join it with half an inch sewing allowance on all sides. I'm going to fold this into half. What I'm trying to do is to just cut out that joining to make a straight line. I'll also be folding my lining on it so that I can cut everything at once. I ended up cutting like 3/4 of an inch from that center back too. The next thing I will do is to attach my boning. I'll measure the length of each joining. For this is actually 10.5, so I'm going to take out 1 inch from it. The 1 inch is for the sewing allowance for the top and the bottom. I'm going to repeat this process for all the joinings. Since I don't have a light, I'll be using these matches to burn out the edges so the pointed edges won't shock you once you wear the corset. I'm going to do this for all the bonings. After I'm done burning the edges, I'll also use a paper tape around the edge too. I ended up using a bias tape for the casing of the boning. Please just ignore the multicolor. I never plan on using this bias tape. So I'm going to insert my boning through that opening. It was quite hard, but I managed to just insert everything through it. Once I'm done inserting the boning through the bias, I'm going to turn it over and attach my lining, making sure right sides are facing each other. Then I'm just going to top stitch. I'm going to stitch the upper parts and I'll also stitch the lower parts. I'm not going to stitch the side. That's where I'm going to pull out the corset once I'm done sewing. After I'm done stitching, I'm going to notch it all around. After notching, I'm going to try to pull it out. You have to be careful when you're doing this. After turning it, I will use a pencil to make sure all the pointed edges are out. Once I'm done with all of this, I'm going to press my corset so as to avoid the lining from showing on the other side. This is how it looks like once I was done. You can see it looks different from when I did not press it. On the side opening, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on the top right there and on the bottom too. I'm going to fold the 1/2 inch and I'm going to press it too. I'll be folding the 1/2 inch inside the corset, then I'll just give it a final press. Once I'm done with that, I'll go to my sewing machine to make rope with the remaining fabric. After making the rope, I'm going to cut the rope by 2.5 inches. I've gone ahead to cut out 8 pieces, so 4 will be on each side of the corset. After I'm done stitching the loops, I'm going to pass with my rope inside the loops that I made. I actually ended up using a ribbon for the loops and for the rope. So this is how it looks like once I'm done stitching it. Thank you for watching. Bye.